In this world today, a lot of people are stuck, and it seems like they don't know where to go. They don't know what to start. It just seems like they have no idea of what direction they want to take their life. I've also felt this way. Sometimes it is hard to kind of know where you want to go, what you want to do. How do you better your life? And in those points when you're not sure what to do, I think sometimes you just need to start with the basics. And one of the most basic things for guys is some kind of physical fitness. Definitely, I'm not going to sit here and say that physical fitness will solve all your issues. Um, but I know, at least for me, when it came to things like self confidence and my overall feeling about myself, when I looked in the mirror and I saw my physique, I was not very happy with what I saw, and I thought like, I watched all this anime, I watched like Soda Leveling, watch Baki Hanma, Dragon Ball Z, all this kind of stuff, and you see these guys with just these powerful physiques and this very high level of confidence in themselves. I was just watching a video about anime and the correlation of bodybuilding. I think is very true that I see a lot of bodybuilders who also watch a lot of anime, and I think there's definitely a lot of inspiration to be gained from like anime or just animations, RPG, fantasy, this kind of stuff, because the storytelling of somebody going from nothing to, becoming a Super Saiyan or, solo leveling, just leveling up, I think it hits, especially guys, it hits us with this kind of inspiration that we want to do the same thing. A lot of guys, they just feel lost and they don't know what direction to take. Um, but always start with the physical. It is the most proven realm of any kind of self improvement that when you put in time in any kind of physical thing, whether that be martial arts, BJJ, Muay Thai, bodybuilding, like I'm more into, you see the results of the training that you're doing and you can physically see that you're improving. And if you're not improving, then you can see that other guys who are training, they are improving. Then you can learn from them and think, maybe I need to try and see what they're doing when you're not sure what to do, of how to level up in your life, or because there's so many things in life, right? There's work, there's business, there's all these things, right? Relationships and all this kind of stuff. I know for me, and in this experience with relationships, when it came to confidence, when I didn't have the physique I had now, I had very low self esteem in myself because I didn't think I looked like the kind of person that would have a girlfriend, this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of guys have this. And you can definitely level up to a certain extent with that kind of field when you do put in time in the gym and you take care of yourself. You take care of your skin, take care of your physique. I think there is a certain level of attraction that you can gain from that, but at the same time, um, there's more to relationships than just looking jacked. You have to be a decent person and know how to manage the complexities of relationships. And I definitely don't claim to be the best if my girl's seeing this. The amount of times that I before, years ago when I first started training, and I'll train for a little while, then I fall off. The coming back is what will make you stronger. Like, even if you say you step foot in the gym today, maybe you fall off. Do you know how much times I have fallen off training, and I have had to come back and try to build from a foundation again? It takes time, it takes consistency, and it takes discipline. And I think over time of doing this, especially once, because a lot of people, you might not be used to training in the gym, 4 or 5 times a week, but it takes a level of confidence that you have to gain by putting in the time. And even when you fail, it's about picking yourself back up and going and just trying to get to a stage where you can keep it consistent. And the easiest thing is just, dedicating a certain amount of time, at the same time every day or something like this, whatever suits you. And you can gain a lot of confidence by doing that. When you see the results and when you see your physique, when you realize that you have control over your own actions. You don't have to just live by the impulses that you have and, eat fucking takeaway every day like I used to, and I still do sometimes. I'm not perfect. Um, but it's slow progress. It's the steps in the journey. When you go on a nice hiking trail, you want to reach the viewpoint that everyone wants to go to, but at the same time, it's like you need to take the steps to get there. And then once you get to the viewpoint, you're like, oh, this is really cool. And then maybe, you want to see another site. And I will say as well, not everyone's going to be into gym. Not everyone's going to be super into physical fitness, this kind of stuff. But I've just found it for me to be such a great foundation. You will miss a lot especially for guys, because I think there's a certain level of physicality that we tend to gravitate towards in this world. And when we see things, we kind of already put a lot more value than, I'll say, like maybe ladies, they see a bit more in the more higher states, the more emotional states, maybe even the more spiritual states, not, of course, this is not a one to one, this is just sort of what I've seen, but um start physical training, start somewhere physical, even if it's not some sort of, like, let's say, gym or martial art, even just grinding in music, musicianship or art, that's stuff I'm into. And again, it's like when you see um the levels that you can attain by grinding and getting better, you have a lot more confidence in yourself, at least in that respect. Having confidence in something, at least something that you are good at, gives you self-confidence to realize that you're able to push yourself in other directions and go further in life, and you don't just have to be at the bottom all the time. I mean, you see this with anime all the time, like fucking Naruto or whatever it might be. It's that they're starting from the bottom, and it takes, a lot of battles, a lot of emotional turmoil until they reach their lowest point, and then they kind of have that awakening. If you think of like Dragon Ball Z when he's fighting Frieza, and Frieza kills, Goku's best friend, and then it's just like he's at his lowest point, that he just finally has this awakening where he's like, it's time to level up, and then he fucking, becomes a Super Saiyan. So it's like, as much as I know not everyone who watches this is gonna like anime, I think it's great. Like, I've always seen this as a teenager, and it's taken me a long time to, at least in the physique realm, and the bodybuilding, and the consistency, and trying to keep good habits. It's taken time. I'm not gonna sit here and say, you just step into the gym and you're gonna be a fucking freak of nature, and get jacked. But it takes time, and you have to go through the points of failure to get to the gold. It's like alchemy. You have to sacrifice to get something. So hopefully this helps, and I'm wishing you luck, brother.